Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to our YouTube channel and welcome to this video tutorial. So this is another video tutorial for JavaFX. This is John from xemacscode, and in this video guys, we're going to learn how to use GPA along with our JavaFX application. So basically, we're going to explore Java Persistence API and try to integrate it into our JavaFX application. So Java Persistence API is, just a collection of classes and methods to persistently store the vast amounts of data into a database. And this is, just a specification that facilitates object relational mapping to manage relational data inside a Java applications. So it provides a platform to work directly with objects instead of using SQL statements. So if you probably work with a database Java projects before, you probably used, different SQL statements, but in this time, we will try to explore GPA and try to move away from using directly SQL statements, and we will try to use objects instead of SQL statements. So I have here a sample project and CRUD. I just name it as CRUD GPA, and as you can see here, I have different package available, and I created this package with different files included. So you could, name your package the way you want or what name you prefer. So I have separated the controllers and also the fxml. If you have like multiple fxml in your project, multiple controllers, um, and also the models. And that's how I organize the file or files inside my project. So I try to separate the main files, the controllers, the fxml files, and of course the models that we're going to use inside our Java FX projects. So if we try to run this is just a basic application, and um, it's kind of empty for now because we're going to populate it, edit the fxml file to include different elements or different nodes such as button, tables, and so on. And also we have the main controller, which is of course empty because we haven't added different logics here. So for now, let's open up our I think we need to create first our database. So we could do that inside our NetBeans IDE. So all you have to do is go to services and make sure that you have connected to your MySQL server. So because I'm using MySQL server or MySQL, so that's why I have here MySQL server. So what we could do here is create our own database. So what we could do is right click and create database, and I'm just gonna name my database as, for example, CRUD JPA, and then click on OK. So you could grant full access to this particular instance of the session, for example, and then click on OK. So basically the connection will be added to here. So we have here our CRUD GPA, and then we could add also table here. So for example, we're going to be working with employees, okay, and then we could add a column here. So for example, ID, and then this is going to be int, okay, and this will be the primary key of our record. So click on OK, and then add another column for first name. So type will be varchar. So the size will be 50. Click on OK. Add another column again for our last name. The same type, varchar or varchar if you want. So size is 50 and click on OK. And I think that's all there is to it for this table. So click on OK here. So we have here already the table employees with all the attributes that we have added, the ID, the first name, the last name. So we could also try to view the data right here, but for now we don't have the record or a certain record here because this is a new table that we have added. So after that, we could close that, and then let's go back to our project and maybe open up our main.fxml file. And from here, we're going to add the nodes inside our layout. So for now, we're going to use the stack pane. So what we could do is instead of using anchor pane, we could wrap this with stack pane. Where is it? Here. And then we could remove this. And in here, we could add the different layout also, or different nodes. So for example, we're going to add a certain pane. Let me undo that because we need to add. So pane. So instead of using that, we're going to maybe we'll just use the anchor pane for now. So remove this stack pane, and then we could set the anchor pane, the size of our anchor pane, into 600 by 400. So 600 by 400. Okay, and then it has the pane node here. So what we could do is maybe remove this, try to add a table. So table view, and then we could resize this, change the column into ID. This will be for our first name. And we could add another column here for our last name. So this will be last name. And we could try to add fxid for this. So this will be table column last name. So TC and then last name. And then do the same for first name. So TC and then first name and TC ID. Okay, and of course we need to add also the fxid for our table view. So we're gonna use table view here, and then let's save this for now. And what we could do also is to add text fields where we can specify the ID and then the first name and then the last name. Then we could add a button to press that button, and then we should be able to add the employee. So this will be the employee table, and for now let's just add a label, for example. So label, Let me use the VBucks. Okay, VBucks. And inside this VBucks, we could add the label. So this will be for our ID. And then also we could add the text field into our VBucks. And then we could copy and paste this. So copy and then paste. And then paste again. So this will be for our first name. And then last name. Okay. And also we could also add here the button that will enable us to save the information. So for example, save. Okay. And what we could do here is try to add padding to our VBucks. So properties of our VBucks and then layout. Maybe we will add here 5. Okay. And then also for our label, let's try to add padding to this. Or margin first. Let's say for example 10. Okay. And also for our button, let's try to add the margin. Okay. And I think that's it for our form. Then we could set also the FX ID for this. So this is TF ID, TF first name, and then TF last name, and then also PTN save. Okay, so for now, let's just save this and go back to our NetBeans IDE and try to update our main controller. So after that, it should, update our main controller, include all the fields or nodes that we have added in our main.fxml file. So we have here the table view, columns, text fields, and the button that we have added. Okay, so for now, let's create a model from our database table. So in here we have the package models. So what we could do here is try to right click on this and click on the entity classes from databases or database. So entity classes from database, and then we should specify the connection here. So we have the CRUD GPA here. So we could select the available tables. So for now, we only have the employee table, and we could, add that into the selected tables, and then click next, and then just leave this option as is, or do not, you don't need to change here the option. So click on next and then finish. So it should generate the model for us. So we haven't really coded the employee class here, and this is auto-generated for us coming from our database. So that's how easy for us to make a model coming from our database. So another thing, we generated this persistence.fx XML file. So if you try to open this, so we have here the options for our persistence unit name. We could, rename this to whatever we want as the persistence unit name, and you could also specify the persistence library. We have the connection, uh, the table generation strategy if you want to click on create, drop and create, or none for now, validation strategy for now, auto, and so on. So that's how the GPA work, and we generated persistence that XML file, and we're going to use this inside our main controller file right here. So for now, what we could do is try to use the different classes from our um, persistence packages that we have included. So as you can see here, we have all the necessary libraries included here. The Eclipse link. So currently we're using GPA 2.1, and we could also add the jar file for our MySQL connector right there. Click on open. So this is to make sure that we have a communication link between our Java program into our database. So we have here the MySQL connector Java, and I'm using 8.0.19 in this particular project. So let me resize this. So after the btn save, what I could do here is to create an observable list. So observable list, and then I could say here employees, and then we could also make a an instance of our employee class. So employee, and then uh, current employee, something like that. So we could import this, and also our employee class. This is employees because that's what we name our table here, employees. So import models.employees, and after that we could make use of the entity manager. So entity manager factory. So EMF, I'm just going to name the object as EMF, and then persistence dot create factory or create manager factory, and we should specify the name of our persistence unit name, which is coming from the persistence.fxml or XML file. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here as our persistent unit name. Okay, and then semicolon at the end. All we have to do now is import this, the entity manager factory, and we could also create an entity manager here. Okay, EMF that create entity manager. So basically what we could do with entity manager is that we're gonna use this to interact with our database. If for example we want to add employee, delete or update records coming or to our database. So we could use this again to save, delete, and other operations that we want with our database. So for now, we could work with here or with our initialize method. So what we could do in our initialize method is to set up our table. So what we could do here is we could say setup table right here, and then we need to create this method right here. So in our table, we could specify the table column, and we could say here um, ID column equals new table column, and we could specify the employee or employees, and then string or integer, because we use, I think, integer for our employees that Java. Okay, so we use integer here for our ID, so basically we're going to use that here for our column, and then open and close parentheses. And in here we could specify the name of our employee or the attribute. So this will be ID, but that's should be double quote ID. Okay, so this is the ID column. Okay, so we need to actually do the property or add the property value factory for our column. And for now, let's stop this. I'll continue to work with this in the next video tutorial. So in the next video tutorial, we will actually work with our database to save, update, and delete records coming from our database. And we will also set up our table, columns, and we will try to display the records coming from our database into our table view node. And guys, if you have questions, you can ask questions in the comment section below, and we will try to answer your queries. So again, that's all for this video tutorial, and we will continue to work with this MainController.java in the next video tutorial. Thank you for watching.